Welcome to Lesson 77, Powers and Laws of Exponents, Part 2. So this is the second in a series of 5. So please go back and watch the first video if you haven't already. And if you had, thank you, and continue to watch the next 5. So another tidbit, if you have not watched my welcome video, please watch that and intro to numbers and operations so that you can get an idea of what is going on, why these videos are the way they are. So without any more talk, let's get into it. So here's our objectives, our vocabulary, some more vocabulary. All right, so today we're going to deal with negative exponents. So part 2 is more about multiplication and division, identity and zero properties, but dealing with negative exponents. Okay, so let's look at our first example here. We're going to write as a power of 10. So let's just write this as a fraction. 1 over what? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths, millions. So that's over 1 million. And we need one more zero to make it a million. There we go. Okay. So now, how do we get, so now we're looking for a power of 10. So these need to be now converted to tens. So what do we know gives us 1? Well, 10 to the 0 gives us 1, and then 10 to the, how many zeros do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is a million. So now that we've applied the identity property and we converted the bottom to tens, so now let's solve our problem. So now using another property, the division property says that 10, if you're dividing by the same base, you subtract the exponents, which gives us 10 to the negative 6 power. And that is our first example. So write 10 to the negative 7th as a decimal. Okay, so now we would convert this down to a decimal. So we have 10 to the negative 7th, put a decimal. After the 1, put a decimal after the 1. And because this is negative, what we're going to do is move the decimal left 7 times. So moving the decimal left 7 times, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and put a 0 in the humps. And so now our answer looks like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers behind the decimal point. Okay, so let's look at our third example. Evaluate each expression. So now we're going to use the multiplication property of exponents, which gives you 2. And what we're going to do is negative 5 plus negative 3. So when you multiply the same base, add the exponents, which gives you 2 to the negative 8th power. And then 2 to the negative 8th is 1 over 2 to the 8th, which gives us 1 over, let's see, 2 to the 8th is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 1 over 256. And I will just leave it at this as a fraction. You don't have to go any further, but if you want to translate this 1 over 256 into a decimal, you're more than welcome. But that is sufficient. So this ends or concludes our examples. I will meet you at the end of the video after you've tried to do the practice problems. Okay, so 0.001 write as a power of 10. So there are two ways to do this. You can, put the 1 over 1,000 and do it like we did before. Count how many zeros. You got 3. And 10 to the 0 minus 3 equals 10 to the minus 3 power. Or the other thing you can do is look how many times you move the decimal point. 1, 2, 3. Giving you 10 to the minus 3. So 10 to the negative 8 write as a decimal. So all you got to do is put 1, and how many times you're going to move the decimal? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and put a 0 in each hump. Okay, so we have 7 zeros and a 1, or 8 numbers behind a decimal. So for problem 3, 3 to the negative 1 equals 1 over 3. And I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. You don't have to go any further. And then finally, 5 to the minus 6 minus a negative 2 becomes 5 to the minus 6 plus 2, which equals 5 to the minus 4th, which equals 1 over 5 to the 4th, which is not finished. And this becomes 1 over 625. And now we are done. So whenever you have any kind of exponent in a number, like when you get here and there's nothing else to do, you got to finish it. You got to simplify it all the way down until there's no other operations to do, because any exponent means multiplication, but multiplication of your base, which was 5. That's why you can't leave it in this form. This is the simplified form, even though this one is correct It is not simplified. So that concludes this video. Stay tuned for video 3. If this is the first video you watch, please go back and watch video 1.